What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown here by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. Coming up on today's show, we've got a fun show planned out for everyone. We're going to check out ESPN's latest mock draft, who they have taking for Denver at number 64 overall. But before that, we're going to get to the latest news and rumors, and it's free agency season. So with that, let's turn to Akiem Hicks. I saw a very interesting and honestly good article from Predominantly Orange / Fansided talking about why the Broncos should go out and get Akiem Hicks, and I don't necessarily disagree. They suggested the signing, and it helps because when you trade away a player like Shelby Harris, you're going to try to find a way to replace him. And you kind of did that with DJ Jones in free agency. Now, Jones is a nose tackle, and Shelby Harris, not necessarily, right? In a 3-4 front, he played more of your 5 technique, your defensive end. Now you can move him around a little bit, but at the end of the day, Hicks would be a pretty much identical replacement for Shelby Harris. He only played in 9 games last season. He's getting up there in the age column, so it's a bit concerning because, you know, I have to say, the best ability is availability, but when he's playing at a high motor, like if you look at 2018 right there, 55 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. You're not going to find 2018 numbers again, but if you can find 75% of that for cheap, like a 1-year, $4 million contract, he made $10 million last season, so that's a long way to fall, but it's also approaching mid-April, April 5th, so we'll call it mid-April. How about this? We'll call it June because May doesn't even count in the NFL. So the season's basically about to start, and Akiem Hicks hasn't found a team. So should the Broncos sign Akiem Hicks? I want you guys to weigh in. Let me know. Y for yes or N for no. I don't see a big issue with it. Again, it comes down to the financial side. I like the idea of signing Hicks. Now, I don't like the idea of signing Hicks for 1 year, $7.5 million. Because the Broncos have about $16 million to play with, and they also have to pay their rookie draft class, so that's going to eat up some money, but they don't have huge contracts going to the rookies. No first-round pick, end of the round 2 pick, so it won't be too much of a financial burden, but maybe Russell Wilson's imminent contract extension would prohibit a signing like this. We check out the depth chart, though, following the Shelby Harris move, and I truthfully need some help because I'm not sure how this will look. Will Randy Gregory be more of your outside linebacker, right, in a 3-4 set? Is he going to come off the edge? Is he going to be just an edge rusher? Or will he line up and be a defensive end? Mike Purcell, he's not a defensive end. He's a nose tackle. But I want to find a way to put all 3 of these guys on the field at the same time. Purcell, Jones, and both Joneses, Draymond Jones and DJ Jones. I don't want to see Purcell be the backup for DJ Jones and see Randy Gregory at the other defensive end. I want to find a way to get all these guys on the field at once. So let me know if you can help fix that depth chart for me. But speaking of the depth chart, and speaking of just defense in general, who will lead the Broncos in sacks in 2022? It's been a bit of a low-key revolving door lately. You look at the last 3 seasons for the Broncos and their sack leaders each year. Shelby Harris in 2021, probably didn't see that one coming. But you had Vaughn traded. You had Bradley Chubb only play 7 games. Someone has to get the sacks. Malik Reed the season before and Von Miller before that. So they've had 3 changing of the guards over the last 3 seasons in terms of the sack leader for Denver. Curious who it's going to be in 2022. Let me know what you think down below. While you're down there, we've got some ground to make up on our friends, we'll call them here at Chat Sports, the Chiefs Report. And they've got about a 4x lead, but I also remember a time when the Chiefs had a huge lead in, say, an AFC Championship game lately and decided to pass it instead of just taking the points going into the half and blew the game altogether. Pretty good moment right there. So if you want to help us catch the Chiefs Report here at the Broncos Breakdown, all you got to do is subscribe. Absolutely free, and you get free Broncos content all year long. Shifting gears now, let's get to the latest ESPN mock draft. So Todd McShay came out with his latest mock following what was kind of a crazy trade yesterday. The Saints and the Eagles swapping first-round picks. Altogether, I think the Eagles come out ahead because they get a future first, and next year's QB class could be loaded. Now, the Broncos, we don't care about the future QB class because you got Russell Wilson. But let's bring it back in. Let's hone it in. Who does Todd McShay have Denver taking at 64? It is Daniel Faalele, the Huge monster of a man from Minnesota, originally from Australia and then somewhere down in the Pacific area before that, I'm guessing, because he's a ginormous human being. Weighed in at 384 pounds, measured at 6'8". That is the heaviest in combine history since they began recording in 2003. 384 pounds. And the beauty, he started 31 games at right tackle last season. What does Denver need? A right tackle. Guys, I want to just make this clear one more time. He's 6'8" and 384 pounds. I don't think we're appreciating how big that is, okay? We've got a visual aid to show you how big 6'8" is, okay? There he is holding PJ Fleck. Fleck's not mini-me. He's a grown man, but he looks like a child there in 78's arms. This guy's not going to be easy to get around. Now, I'm not saying he's an absolute cannot miss 100% future Hall of Famer. When you're that big, when you're 384 pounds, you're not a cat. Your quickness can be a bit of a concern. And when you go from college to the NFL, the biggest difference is the speed of the game. And so the edge rushers you went up against in college, not as fast as the guys you see in the NFL. So you got to have quick feet because every lineman is big. But they're not 6'8" big. They're not 384 pounds big. I mean, the guy makes mountains look like hills. That's how big he is. What will be big is how much money you can spend at and make at BetUS when you go to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code Broncos125. That's going to give you a 125% deposit bonus. So put $100 in, you get $125 on top of it. Now, I honestly need some help here because the Masters, as we know, right around the corner, and Tiger Woods is plus 5,000. And I'm one of those people that watches golf 4 times a year, but when it's on, I talk about it as if I watch every single weekend. So help me look smart and give me someone to bet on. I'm going to make my picks at chatsports.com/bet. I invite you to do the same. Join me over there, but please let me know in the comment section. I need someone to put some dough on. So if you're someone that actually watches golf more than 4 times a year, let me know the hot name to pick right now down below. I think Faalele, getting back towards the draft coverage, Faalele is my number one guy. I'm pretty sure on that. It's difficult to gauge end of round 2 who's going to be there because you had that crossover of, is he a second-round pick? Is he a third-round pick? Well, Denver's the last pick in round 2, so they're kind of a seesaw right there. I like him a lot. I'll show you my other top prospects in just a second, but I want to know who your top draft prospect is. I asked this on the show yesterday, and I got a lot of great responses. In fact, I'm going to get some shout-outs in a second and see who you guys voted for as your top prospect. So let's run through it right now. David going with Bailey Zappe, that QB out of Western Kentucky who threw like 1,000 touchdowns. We'll see how easy it is going up against NFL defenses compared to the likes of Central Eastern Kentucky University State. Caleb Uhler. All right, Troy Anderson, that guy's a beast. He's a physical specimen. I like that one a lot. Brian Asamoah, he's kind of the mold people are going for at linebacker, a safety-esque linebacker. That kind of safety speed, but a linebacker who can still fly around the field. Kenyon Green, that's a good one from Atlanta's Gaming. Rush Jordan, Calvin Austin. Maybe, I don't think Denver really needs a wide receiver, but if he falls, I guess I could get talked into it. John coming with Wadimir Woods. I get that right? I think so. I mean, after you traded Noah Fant away, you got to envision they'll be trying to replace him in the draft. Nick Bonito from Dustin. Yep, that's a good edge rusher right there from Dustin. And finally, John, great minds think alike, John, Daniel Faalele. Now, here are my other top prospects. I kind of took what some of you guys said and incorporated and molded my list a little bit. But here are 5 players that I would be very happy with if Denver drafted. Faalele, like we just talked about. Asamoah, because Denver does need another off-ball linebacker, and he's just so athletic. It's hard to pass up on that. Troy Anderson, he could be the real deal. I mean, he may be one of those, like, pushing hay barrels, corn-fed, how do we miss him? Ojabo is interesting because he ruptured his Achilles at his pro day. I'm guessing he'll miss most of his rookie season, if not the entire year, but maybe you get him for cheap then. He was supposed to be a first-round pick. If you can get him at the end of round 2, yeah, I get it. He'll miss his rookie year, but could be exciting after that. And then Abraham Lucas, another tackle to keep an eye on. at the end of the day, I go best player available. This is something I've kind of harped on for a while because I think it's true that after the first round, I get it. You have to address some needs. And so like the Broncos shouldn't take a quarterback or like a running back necessarily in round 2. But if you're a toss-up between linebacker, safety, offensive tackle, edge rusher, linebacker, say linebacker? Yeah, take the best player. Like just take someone that is good. Not someone you're like, well, that's a really good linebacker, but I guess we need more help in offensive tackle. I'm not so sure if Abraham Lucas is going to be all that good, but we need a tackle. No, you'll thank yourself later. It may not feel like a need right now, but you got to remember, injuries happen, free contracts and trades happen. Rosters get moved around all the time. So maybe 2 years down the line, you do need a safety or another position like a guard you didn't think you needed back then, and you'll be happy you have a stud because you drafted him and you knew he's the best player on the board. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Appreciate all of you guys that have watched this far. We'll catch up with you later with the latest Broncos news and rumors.